Gas prices are getting out of control, so I decided to try something a little different. I'm driving to Cape Cod without paying for fuel or energy. No gas, just free charging. Naps in my car with my two very opinionated travel companions. This is either going to work or take much longer than it should. So, here's the situation. I drive a Toyota RAV4 Prime, which is a plug-in hybrid. That means it can run fully electric for a while and then switch over to a regular hybrid. Being a plug-in hybrid, it does not get as much EV mileage as a pure EV vehicle. On a full charge, I can usually get about 30 to 50 miles of pure electric driving. And then cold weather, use of climate control and higher speeds tend to shorten the EV range. When the EV is at 20% charge, it switches to hybrid mode, which can go for about 400 miles on a full tank of gas. And in the past, driving to the Cape, which is about 130 miles for me one way, I've gotten as high as 70 miles per gallon with this car when I start with a full charge, which is already pretty efficient. I've been wanting to get back to the Cape for a while now, specifically towards Woods Hole, but aside from the increased fuel prices, driving straight through the distance usually leaves me completely drained. And I didn't want this trip to feel like that. So instead of rushing to get there, I wanted to see what would happen if I slowed everything down, if I actually built rest into the journey. First stop, Fitchburg. Free charging. A quiet elementary school parking lot, brightly lit and surprisingly peaceful. After plugging in, we took a slow walk, got the dog some water, and settled back into the car to rest for a while. No rushing. No pressure. 3.5 hours later, we were fully charged and ready for the next stretch. And that's when I started noticing something. Normally, long drives completely drain me. I'd push through exhaustion just trying to arrive as quickly as possible. But this trip was different. The stops weren't interruptions. They were the journey. Second stop, Milford Crossing. Except the charger wasn't compatible. So there I was, driving around late at night, trying to find another option. At first, I could feel the stress creeping in. The kind of stress that makes you feel like everything is going wrong. Eventually, though, I decided to head to Milford Toyota instead. It was well lit, felt safe, and honestly became exactly what I needed. The window covers turned the car into this tiny little cocoon. Dark, quiet, and actually warm because I had the car on room mode. So I was able to keep the heater on. The dogs curled up beside me while the car charged. Less than 3 hours later, we were fully charged again for around $5. By then, it was basically the middle of the night. I wasn't sure I could stay parked there overnight, so we headed to a rest stop nearby. Before settling in, I freshened up at Milford Crossing and gave the dogs string cheese as their little midnight snack. Tiny moments like that started becoming my favorite part of the trip. But sometime during the night, the temperature really dropped, even with the electric blanket. I could feel the cold in every breath, and I started to worry about the dogs. Turning the car on would have been the easy solution, but I didn't want to fail the challenge. So instead, I drove to another charging station. I found one listed as free at a Stop and Shop parking lot in Mansfield. So I drove there, except by the time I got there, I realized it wasn't actually free. At that point, it was almost 5 a.m. and I was exhausted. We curled back up and went back to sleep. A few hours later, I woke up to sunlight pouring into the car.
It's morning.
There was still about an hour left on the charge, so we took our time. Morning walk, fresh air, water and snacks for the dogs, and by the time we got back, the car was ready too.
Alright, so it's 100% charged. The next charging station is 33 miles from here. This one says I have 38 miles, but it's usually less than that. So we'll see. Going to Carver.
And eventually, after charging stations, parking lots, midnight dog walks, and sunrise resets, we finally made it to Cape Cod.